All right. All right.
Cheers.
Kristen.
Cheers.
Yeah, I got it. Matt,
What's
how
up?
are you?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming, man. This is amazing. Why it's amazing? You ask?
I do ask.
Yeah.
You want me to ask, apparently.
Yeah,
Why is this
someone
so
has to ask.
amazing?
That's right. Why is this so amazing? It's amazing because, bro, the things you do on and what you've done with yourself is very impressive to me. I think it's a great thing, and I have a lot of questions for you.
Sure.
So, questions that are kind of a lot of people would ask, I would imagine, especially if you're a chef or in the chef world.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because it's not so much about the Instagram world. That's your world, and it's fun to see. But let's get right to the nuts and bolts here, man.
Sure.
What about the cooking aspect of it? So when I started watching you, right, I caught, like everybody, you're scrolling, you see this guy come up, and to me, most of my feed is
It's
either
food,
motorcycles, chefs, surfing, food, motorcycles, and chefs.
Yeah.
That's it.
Probably
right?
some
Over
other
and over
things,
again.
but
Some
it's
other
too
things
early
here
to
and
talk
there.
about that.
It's too
yeah.
early for that shit, but tequila it is. Hold on.
Yeah, tequila and truth.
Mine's similar.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of basically what I'm saying is it's a lot of chef stuff, a lot of influenced by cooking, culinary, the industry, all that shit we
Yeah.
deal with every day because it keeps me going. It's just entertaining, right?
Right.
So I come across you a couple years ago. Just who's this guy? Now I'm watching the food. I'm watching. It looks interesting. At the beginning of it all, you know, it's to me at the beginning, like anybody, it's another guy on the fucking thing.
Another internet chef.
Another internet chef doing his thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see what he's doing. But then after time, I see it a couple times. Now you're in my algorithm, and now you're popping up everywhere. And I'm like, all right, who the fuck is this guy? Let me
Who's
watch.
Mr. Make It Happen? Who
thankful
the
for
hell is
that.
this?
Yeah, man. So I start watching because you intrigue me with some of your technique and stuff like that. So I'm thinking to myself, all right, after I watched a recipe or two, I'm thinking, all right, so I'm gonna keep watching because it's interesting. So now I'm getting more intrigued away from the food. The food is the food. It's great.
Right.
Now I'm looking at like, you obviously have some background. Where did you cook? Where did you leave? Where are you cooking now? How do I not know about you because you're from the area?
Yeah.
And I did my research. I did everything I needed to do. And come to find out in the end, you're kind of self-made on the cooking world, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So tell me how some of your techniques, the verbiage,
Yeah.
the terminology you're using. This is educated terminology that's what got my attention.
Right.
Right. So you're very show worthy. We got that down. You know, you really can capture your audience. That's cool. But
Right.
when it comes down to the cooking, that's what I'm about. And it's
Same.
You have the fucking skill of somebody who's seasoned in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have the skill of somebody who understands the
Yeah.
logistics of a kitchen or
Yeah.
his kitchen, right? You understand the etiquette, the when to wear the gloves, when to slice the food, when to introduce your seasoning, when to sear and get the flavors. I'm watching it, right?
Right.
Now I'm going to stop talking for a minute because I can go on forever.
Yeah.
You're supposed to chime in anytime.
I'm
man.
just letting you go right now. I'm letting you have your moment.
But tell me a little bit about, first of all, where did your passion come from? 1, 2, how did you hone it?
Yeah.
And 3, where did you get the confidence to be able to speak of it the way you're speaking of it without
Sure.
actually being in the kitchen doing it as much as someone like myself?
Right. So I think, well, first the passion kind of, I've always been, well, not always. I got more passionate about it as I got my feet wet. So I started out we threw parties when I was in like high school, and then into college years we were had a promotional team. We did concerts, events, and things like that. Everybody would come to my apartment as like the pregame spot before we would go out, and I would always just cook, like not thinking I want to be a chef. Just I didn't have the money to eat out, so we'd cook a lot at home. People would come over, they'd eat the food before we go to drink, and people were like, oh, this is good, and that would happen. I'm like, okay, maybe.
What was your comfort zone cooking at that time?
Oh, like baked spaghetti and like very basic
Primal.
shit, like chili,
Intro.
Yeah, okay. Intro
crab
stuff.
dip, like
Sure,
nothing,
sure. Gotcha.
nothing impressive. But enough that your friends would be like, oh, this is good, and you watch them eat it. Just like that first experience when you cook, and you definitely can relate to this. When you cook for somebody and you look out at your dining room and it's full and people are eating, and you see them like the facial expressions they make
Every night.
The first thing that like got my attention or got my passion growing is like watching somebody eat something that you made and seeing like a physical reaction, like they like that.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that feeling, so that got me more interested in cooking. My dad cooked, not like a chef, but he cooked occasionally, so I would always kind of see it.
Yeah.
And then like in America, everything is celebrated with food, whether it's a funeral, a wedding, whatever it is, there's gonna be some food before or after it. So that's kind of like the foundation, I guess, is what got me interested in it initially. And then when I started to cook and people would eat the food and enjoy it, that got me more interested in it. I have a very obsessive personality, which is why I don't have like that many other hobbies. Like golf, I would just be all in on it until I get good at it. So once I got into cooking, I just spent the next 10 years, like almost every day, that's what I'm doing. Like,
So you're working in corporate America at that time?
yeah. So
Yeah.
I moved from Richmond, Virginia to DC. So away from all of my friends, I'm up in a new space. It's like 30 minutes from DC. So we're not in the city. We're out in the
Yeah.
suburbs. I got this new corporate job. All I did for years, like 2 or 3 years straight, is I would work and I would come home and I would cook. If you wanted to see me, you can come over. I'm going to get good at this thing by any means necessary.
Well,
This is the menu
So
this
you-
week. And if you want to come over, pull up.
Yeah, you became obsessed with it because you were in finance, correct?
Correct.
And I don't think a lot of people know that about your background.
Yeah.
And they see now, because again, you have millions of followers online.
Yep.
Everybody knows you on YouTube. They've seen what you built, but they
Yeah.
don't know the history of it. So it's fascinating. I mean, you've been doing it for 10 years. So it's not your first rodeo
Yep.
when you started doing it. And I know we want to talk about kind of the YouTube and building that presence because, again, like Tony said, you came up in your own right as a chef.
I was in like a kind of a unique spot because I was making good money in corporate America. Like I had a 6-figure job. I'm not gonna quit that to go to culinary. Like I got friends that's in the business. They work every holiday. They work every weekend. It's a grueling job.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm like, well, I love this thing, but is it the smart move to quit this 6-figure salary job where I'm off on weekends to go to culinary school, spend a bunch of money in culinary school just to potentially get a job where I'm not going to make what I'm making now and have a shittier schedule? I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense to me. So I just kind of just kept trying to figure it out. Social media continued to grow, and that's when I kind of was able to take what I learned from sales and marketing in corporate America and couple it with my passion for food and turn it into fairly
makes sense.
successful business.
Yeah.
Well, you did a good job at it. So you have over 1 million followers just on Instagram alone,
Yep.
which anybody knows who's on Instagram. We're social media to the point of, I have to focus more on my actual brick and mortar. But I've always have an intrigue with gaining that fucking pace, that quality of following, right?
And you have a committed community. Like you've grown it from scratch. Like you've done organic growth, which a lot of people today take the easy route. They just buy shitty ass followers and then they get nothing out of it.
Yeah.
But you actually have a committed audience, which is really, really fucking impressive.
Well, that comes with the same thing as cooking. Let's get back to the fucking pan, right? So
Yeah.
you have to be able to produce something that someone's going to watch because they're never going to watch twice if they don't.
Yeah.
So out of a percentage of people who actually watch you because they're interested in what you're saying, and then there's a percentage smaller than that of people who are going to go buy the stuff and actually do it, then there must be, I'm just hypothetically saying, because you do go through it quickly, you must get some fan mail or some type of messaging of how do I do this now, or can you slow that down, or you must get that. How do you deal with that? Now, if you put out a recipe on a Friday afternoon, by Monday you must be inundated by all this mail of questioning and technique and how do I do this and where do I get that? How do you vet that? What do you do there?
So now at this scale, you got to have help. So I have an assistant that assists. I have multiple assistants that help with email and things like that. But the beauty of like Instagram to me is like, I don't want to shit on it because obviously I got 1 million followers. It's helped me a lot. The barrier of entry to be an Instagram chef is have an iPhone, Wi-Fi, and a pot and pan with a gas stove or even electric stove, whatever you got. That's all you need to be an Instagram chef.
Yeah.
And I'm very aware of that. But there's things like the food blog and YouTube, which is long form content where it's 8 to 15 minutes of me actually explaining why you do what you do, why you add the sauce. Like you got to kind of know what you're talking about a little bit more than Instagram, where it's just like 30 or 45 seconds of blah, 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 and then boom, here's the finished product.
So that's basically what I'm gathering here is the Instagram for you is more of a sizzle reel to your.
It's part of the funnel.
Now come to the blog and to YouTube
Yeah.
where I actually get money from because Instagram doesn't pay.
Yeah,
anything.
Instagram. Well, they did short period, but that didn't go. That didn't last long.
Right.
No.
And I like it because not everybody can do that. There's a lot of people that are really good at the short form content and they don't have any presence on long form content. And maybe it's not necessarily because they're not as good at doing that. Maybe it's they don't have any interest or whatever the case may be.
Or it's hard.
There's a certain skill level that you have to have at least to be able to articulate why you want to do certain things when you're making a recipe versus this is just a recipe I printed off the internet or I saw somebody else make it and I'm going to remake it and boom, I got 1 million views today.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you have when you're picking out what it is you want to do, like when I'm making my specials, when I create things here, I have to go decide and depend on what can I have my guys or my lady in the kitchen replicate,
Yeah.
consistently? What's good enough for the ticket times here in this place? How's the ingredient flow of it all? What if it's sustainable? What if it's what part of it's local? All these things I have to
Yeah.
worry about as far as these people here because they're paying to eat it right now.
Right.
So, same thing for you. When you're deciding what you're going to run, you're gonna have to test it, try it, make sure it works, do a couple run throughs. I'm imagining.
I do. A lot of people do not do that.
Really?
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that when they do replicate it, it's no different than they're coming here to sit
Gotta be
here.
good.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
got to replicate it, make sure. So you're obviously doing that,
Yeah.
and there's enough people doing it to continue to follow you.
Yep.
Because no one's just going to follow you once a million times.
Yeah.
This comes from people's algorithms of going
Being
on and
fed
on and
out
on.
there.
And if they try the recipe and it sucks, they're
They're
less
not coming
likely
back.
to try the next one. Maybe they'll come back again. Maybe
Yeah.
they in their mind like, well, maybe I messed it up. They'll try again. But if it's a consistent thing and your recipes don't check out, then what am I following you for?
Yeah.
Right. So you have this huge fan base, you have this huge thing, and it's almost all based off a virtual type of situation,
Yep.
if you will. And that's all amazing. So what happens when you run across chefs like me, or not like me rather, opposite of me, who kind of give you a little bit of flack or show you some sort of hate? I'm sure it happens.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. I think that some of it's warranted because I understand the grind and the effort and things that go into becoming a chef, especially one like yourself that owns successful restaurants.
Yeah.
I mean, you're killing it, and you had to, work your ass off to get there, and then you turn on your phone, and there's some kid on there that's got 4 million followers, and he's, making chicken Alfredo for the 12th time this week, and like
Yeah.
everybody loves him. It's like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is this? I get that feeling. But I think that the hate, so to speak, that I get tends to come from people that aren't necessarily happy with where they are in their personal situation. So I just ignore it. Like, I
Yeah.
get it. I've felt those feelings before. Like, I still feel it. Like, there's people that do what I do that are better off than me, that are killing it more than me. And I'm like, damn, I think I probably cook better than them. But nothing good comes from those feelings. So I try to just focus on continuing to do what I do. So in terms of dealing with hate, I mostly ignore it. Occasionally I'll respond if it's something ridiculous.
Yeah.
But for the most part, nothing good comes of responding to the haters. Really, just keep trying to
Just
win.
feed the fire. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I think that a lot of people are curious because they think they can do that easily. Like you said, like you
Yeah.
jump on, you're instantly going to be somebody on Instagram or YouTube.
Occasionally that does happen. Like
It does, and it's right time, right place.
That's
but
the allure of why so many people are rushing
Try.
to do it, because everybody's cooked something in their life.
yeah.
So like,
It's the
I
same-
can make
it's the same
French
reason why
toast.
people go to the casino and pull that damn hammer.
You won
You know what I
one
mean?
time, and now
So,
you're
yeah,
chasing that
you
dragon for
watch
the
it,
rest
Yeah.
of your
You
life.
see
Yeah.
someone else hit the jackpot, so you're gonna play it until you do.
I think Instagram knows that too. So like, there's something about new channels now where
Yeah.
like they'll give you a little pop, and then you're
Just to feed
addicted.
the
I'm gonna
addiction.
post 7 days a week now because I want to get 1 million
Yeah.
views again, and then good luck.
Well,
Like,
actually,
it starts
they
to fall
just
off.
changed, and if nobody has noticed yet, when you're actually hitting like, if you're double tapping, if you continue, the heart gets bigger and bigger. So it's
Yeah.
actually feeding your dopamine response to keep
Yeah.
you addicted to hitting that double tap motion. So you have to keep doing it. So when you're on there, now I just fucked
Everything
everybody's
on
thing. They're
these
all going to be
apps.
doing it on their phones. So,
So
it's
basically
crazy.
it's a
it's addictive.
it's
yes.
addictive, and this is mind games.
Yeah.
It's mind games. Damn it.
But you put the
It
work
is.
in. So I think the one thing that a lot of people don't know is how much content and how much time you actually
Yeah.
put into production. So how much do you actually film right now, and how does that get dispersed to your channels?
It's gonna sound clean. I work every day. Like
Yeah.
we film probably 5 days a week. I'm trying to get it down to 4, but some level of work is getting done every day of the week. Like my wife's looking at me like, "Are you still really?
Yeah.
Are you really still on the computer?" Like and again, it's back to the same thing. Like you're still chasing it. Like
Yeah.
I got 1 million followers, and I feel like I should have 5 million followers.
Yeah.
So it's like you gotta keep grinding to try to get there, and then this is how I feed my family now. I got 7 employees who feed their family based off the income that I bring in.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly trying to figure out ways to continue to make this a successful business.
And that's a hard pressure to have, dude, because
Yeah.
I have about 80 total.
Yeah.
And I have one off month.
Employees, not family.
Well, that's 90. No, I got at least 80 employees, and that may not be a lot to some, of course, but to me and to the
It's a
normal
lot.
person, it's a fucking lot
Yeah.
of responsibility. And the day I stop creating, and the day I start getting writer's block, or the day I start having a bad minute, or the day
Yeah.
I let outside things ail me in the kitchen,
Yeah.
everyone's in risk. Everybody.
sure.
And it's a lot. And when you're creating content like you are, you have one job, and that's to make interesting food.
Yep.
So that's it. Really, the way you present yourself is fine.
Yeah.
That all comes out, but without that vehicle in front of you, you're not. You know what I mean? You're just all over the place. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like we have products and things like that. So there's marketing and sales that goes into it. You know, we're trying to stay fresh and continue to do different things to keep the ball rolling. Because like I said, the barrier for entry for content creation is at the floor. Anybody can do it.
Yeah.
And everybody's trying because like you know,
everybody's trying.
yeah. Who
Everybody's
doesn't want to get paid to do what you want to do anyway?
Yeah.
So it's just tough. Like I might have 1 million followers, and then there's people that got 25,000 or 50,000 followers, and they may not pull a lot of my fan base away. But even if 100 of them pull
Yeah.
1% away, you're losing a piece of the pie.
It's dilution.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
diluted.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing in the world out here in the brick and mortars as chefs. The new thing here is to try and be your own chef. Everybody wants their own thing, right?
Yeah.
I get it. I understand. We all wanted that, but without the process of doing it,
Yeah.
we are all fucking suffering because I can have 3 good chefs here working with me.
Yep.
And once they get to the max where they feel they want more, they're just going to leave with lack of knowledge, not enough fucking sense. They don't understand. They just got told enough here they were great.
Yeah.
So they go out and they try and do their own thing, or they go work with another chef of theirs that's they're trying to start up. It fails in a year or two, and all it did was diluted the quality that we could have put together out as a team
Yeah.
while they
Yeah.
built their portfolio or their mental portfolio.
Right.
And they cut themselves short.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing happening, I'm sure, because it dilutes what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because all these people who are taking away from you, so your buddy gets 1,000 fucking likes in the same area, that's 1,000 people not giving you yours, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
he's going to be fading away anyway because 1,000's not going to add to 1 million.
Right.
So it just took 6 months for him to realize that you had to take a quick stall for a minute.
Yeah.
On,
Well,
on your followership. I mean, it's
they make the industry look a little shitty and shady because they are like diluting it and just showing up to show up. But if you don't have any business acumen whatsoever, you will eventually fail. So
Yeah.
you were lucky because you had a background in finance. You know how to manage a budget, numbers,
Right.
and you actually treat your brand like a business. And
That's
I
huge,
talk about
too.
that all the
Yeah.
time. Your brand is a business, and if you don't treat it as such, you will fail.
That's why I'm constantly trying to think of like what are things that I can do that everybody else can't just
Yeah.
go do. Like when it started during the pandemic, I was doing like e-cookbooks where
Oh, okay.
everybody was stuck in the house. We did like live virtual cooking classes every week.
That's
We
cool.
did e-cookbooks. Then, you know, everybody else started. I'm not saying I started any of these things, but it became more prevalent. A lot of people were doing it. Then I had a seasoning. Everybody's got a seasoning now. Chef's
everybody's
knife.
got a seasoning,
Like-
bro. And let me ask you a question on that, not to cut you off.
Yeah.
I'm seeing every fucking buddy with a seasoning. I see the Cajun guy, this guy, that guy. and they're
Every
all,
single
you get my
person.
right seasoning right here. You know what I mean? Order my seasoning right now, right here. You know what I'm saying? The Bayou Boogaloo seasoning right here.
Yeah.
Here, I'll put it on your crabs now here. You know what I mean? And it's like, where the fuck are you getting all this? I don't want to know where you're getting it, but where are they all getting it? Is there one big seasoning fucking bucket? They just do this and say, all right, here's my seasoning?
There are co-packers out there that are their business is probably doing 1,000,000 times better the last 3 years than it was
'Cause
10
people
years
are-
ago.
So you call up
Yeah.
this co-packer. Hey, my name is Tony. I'm Italian. This is my stick. I need a seasoning. And they say, all right, here you go. And they put your label on it, and that's what they're
there's
doing?
a few things. There's a few ways to go about it. There's something called private labeling where you reach out to a company like that and they just send you some shit they already made, and then you slap your logo
White
on it and
label.
sell it. I don't do that. I talk to them, I tell them what ingredients I want to use. They ship me the ingredients that they have in stock. I make the recipe, send the recipe back to them. They
Okay.
batch it, send it back to me. I test it, tweak it. Once we get to a final recipe, then it goes into production.
Okay.
I doubt most people are doing that. I think
So
a
it's the
lot
same
of
way,
people.
like when I'm going to do my sauces and things like that. It's
Yeah.
my recipe. It's my creation. I'm going to ask them to pack it.
Exactly.
Produce it and pack it based on these specs.
Yep.
They're going to check their acidity
Yeah.
levels. They're going to make it FDA. They're going to do all that
Yeah.
stuff. But it's
Exactly.
your recipe and your thing.
100%.
So that I know about you because I know you. Now, I see some of these other guys that are literally cooking a fucking big snake on a grill and they're hitting it with their seasoning.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit what you're seasoning that snake with. Okay? It's a snake, bro.
Yeah.
And I don't think you went through the full distance
Yeah, to vet your
make
product.
this to make this
Yeah.
product right. I don't
Yeah.
think you have the skill it takes to be able to put these herbs and spices together to create what it is you're looking for because you're cooking a fucking belt
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
a snake.
They have white labeling on every industry. So, like, I mean, even
Yeah.
in the supplement industry, protein
Exactly.
powders are all white labeled. They're one manufacturer. Same with vodka. There's
all the
certain
same
manufacturers. It's all labeled differently. So it happens in
They're-
every industry.
They're
but
capitalizing on somebody's ability to build an audience and sell a product
a
to that
brand.
audience, right? But for me, I think that it's important to. I want to be confident in the product that I put out
Yeah.
there. If your product was so good, Mr. Co-packer, that you want me to put my label on, you'd be selling it. You wouldn't need
Yourself.
any help.
Yeah.
So for me, I want to make sure that I think it's good, and if I think it's good and I'm using it in my recipes and my followers like the recipes that I'm producing, then
Yeah.
in my opinion, they should like the seasoning too.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been the recipe for success in that department for me.
In any time when we're dealing with this, Matt, quality and consistency is key. If
Oh,
you're
yeah.
going to be a chef and sell your food at any level, whether you're in a food truck, on Instagram, in a restaurant like myself,
Yeah.
a hot dog stand, you have to have the best.
Sure.
And if you're getting by as if you're a fucking snack shack in a bowling alley
Yeah.
who doesn't care. Now, don't
Frozen
don't
chicken
disrespect that
tenders.
because there's some good bowling alley chicken
There
tenders
is.
out
There are.
So, but if you have that mentality to where you're trying to make a dollar and you're willing to sacrifice,
Quality.
quality for quantity, you know what I mean? You're fucking done.
Yep.
That's the beginning of the end. For
You'll
you.
fail
Yeah,
eventually.
you
You'll
might
fail
you might
eventually.
make some quick money.
Yeah.
But long term,
Not
can
long
you
term,
make it
yeah.
sustainable over the course
No,
of
because
years?
Yeah.
the next guy comes in with just an ounce better. You get one grade of chicken better than this guy, it's done.
Or a little bit cheaper.
A little bit cheap, right?
Yeah.
It is what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to keep doing what you're doing
Yeah.
and presenting how you're presenting your quality at the level you're doing it. And there's no way around that, man. That's just
Right.
the way it is. So anyone going into the chef world, I give advice to, and I also tell them what not to do. We've already been through that. What about yourself, me, being, if I were to say to you, I'm a chef, I'm successful, my following comes in stationary means, not virtual in a sense.
Sure.
I would like to be more like what you're doing. I want to get away from this. What would your advice be, or your initial original advice? What would it be?
Start immediately. A lot of people want to get the right equipment. They want to get the right lights. They want to get the right camera. They want to hire a cameraman.
Sounds familiar,
They're
huh?
going to start 6 months.
You're a
9
little
months
extra,
from
so
now.
that's fine.
They want to start 2 years from now.
Yeah.
Like the longer you start, the longer you wait to start, the more of these people are going to be doing it.
Taking it.
So now it's going to be harder to stand out. You still could stand out because you got, you're
Yeah.
capable of doing it, but it just gets a little bit more crowded the longer you wait.
Does any instinct in you tell you to say fucking just don't work, don't do it, stay away?
No,
Don't waste
because
your
I think it's the future. I think it would be a mistake to stay
To
away
not
from
do
it.
it.
Okay.
Like
Well-
when I meet somebody and they're like, I don't do social media, I'm like, I don't think that's smart.
Yeah.
Like, what are you gonna do? Like the
But
newspapers.
these are people that have never had to literally advertise their service.
I get it.
And they don't realize how much it costs back in the day before social media, how
Oh,
much it
ad
would
spend,
cost
yeah.
me to just
Oh,
get
it's-
ads out in the
Oh, yeah.
magazines and newspapers. $10,000.
Oh, it's the
a
easiest
fucking
way
half a
right now
year.
to
Right.
market. And people, like I always, it's digital Darwinism because it's evolving faster than most people or businesses can keep up with.
Yeah.
So if you're not going to ride the wave, yeah, you are going to fall off. And
You're
no,
gonna fall
certain
off,
industries don't have to have social. But I think the other point to make to people that are listening, because like our, viewership will be more restaurant, front of house, back house, and people who just love food and drink. But what was your actual timeline? Like when you started the channel, the next channel, the food, the products,
Right.
and now?
So I started originally with a food blog because I thought that is what I was looking for something that I could do while I worked in corporate
Yeah.
America, and I wanted to do it as a hobby that would eventually become a profession potentially.
Okay.
So I started with the food blog. I had a big following on social media that kind of grew as I was doing that. And at the time, if your traffic to the website comes from social media, they will ban your ad account. So I started making like $3,000 a month, which at the time I was like, oh man, we're killing it.
Wow.
And they banned my account. I was like, fuck, like what do I do now? So I started YouTube. I started the YouTube channel in 2019.
Okay.
Late 2019, by early 2020, the pandemic hit. Perfect timing. I had already had
Yeah.
a large following on like Twitter, Instagram, and whatnot. And then I started YouTube at the perfect time and already had like a little bit of a foundation laid. So when the pandemic happened, everybody's at home watching food because they got to cook for themselves for the first time. They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah.
So they need somebody that can articulate it. And I think the thing that's intriguing or appealing about people like me versus somebody that's super chefy or classically trained is it's a little bit more approachable. Like I can relate.
I can
to,
do that.
Like this is how you make.
Yeah.
They might not want to make duck confit, and they may not understand how to do that, but they want to make some spaghetti tonight, or they want to make baked chicken, and I can like tell you how to do that in layman's terms.
And you set yourself above. So
Yeah.
here's how I look at it. Okay, here, what you've done is we were talking about a little bit earlier about how the how things get diluted a little bit.
Yeah.
But you're standing up since the beginning, like she just asked you, from the beginning of this, you've kind of raised it up, and you're the guy. So in your little demographic of what you do, you're the guy. Let's take Portnoy, for instance, okay?
Yeah.
No one's going to do a pizza review again. Who the fuck's going to do a pizza review? It'd be serious about it. It's almost like what you're doing right now is comparable, because I compare all these other people to what you're doing before I even got to know you.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? These guys don't have a chance because with the amount of followers you have doing it, everybody else is kind of below you trying to catch up. But you're setting the standard. It's like David Portnoy with that the pizza thing that he was doing. Who else literally is going to do a pizza fucking review and anyone's going to take him serious? Because that guy locked it in so fucking good. Anybody else is obviously just trying to copy him.
For sure.
Right? I don't even want to go do a pizza review, and I love pizza.
Because you don't want to.
But I'm from New Haven, Connecticut. I love fucking Connecticut pizza. I can't even go there now and say it's wonderful because he did such a good job at it. And I know what the fuck I'm talking about. So kudos to him, and kudos for you for that too, because whether you want to know it or not, from the outside, my side, looking in, you're on top of it to where you're setting a standard to where people are trying to mock you.
Yeah.
They're trying to do what you've done. And if you keep doing what you did, you can only rise up from here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's where we're at together. That's why we sit here and get along together, because and Kristen, we're all on that same level. We want the fucking next thing. We don't want to be settled. We don't want to sit down and, okay, good, I got 1 million followers. Now I can relax and let my 7 people figure it out. And
Right.
We don't do that. You want 1 million more.
Exactly.
I want another restaurant. I want more clients. I want more happy faces. I want more ideas.
Yeah.
I want more fucking, I want more energy. And I definitely want some more inspiration.
Yeah.
Because the only way I'm going to get inspiration is by talking to people like you and you. And I'm also going to get inspiration by listening and watching other chefs. I'm going to get inspiration by the people who are doing it wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So I
true.
don't mind those people either. I don't hate on them anymore. I used to laugh at them, fuck them up, talking shit. But now I like them because they just keep teaching me what not to do. And I don't have to go through the agony. I've already done it. I've already know what not to do.
Everything
And
is a
even like
lesson.
even though it may not be your cup of tea, to me it's like I see stuff sometimes, I'm like, they're doing that wrong. That's not how you do that.
Yeah,
That's
you're gonna
not
cook that like that?
That's not the
You're
right
gonna do
word.
that?
That's not the right technique. But they're not like, whoever likes that probably isn't gonna be my
They're not for you.
person. Like
Right.
in my
Yeah.
community.
Yeah, yeah. There's
and
something for
there's a place for everybody. Like there's people that are burger and fries people, and then there's people that like omakase experiences and they eat raw sushi every day or every week, and some people that eat burgers and fries probably would never touch a piece of, fatty bluefin tuna. They're not going
Right.
to eat that.
The
Yeah.
belly or
So like
something,
there's just
Yeah.
there's different strokes for different folks, and I've kind of like tried to not let it bother me as much.
Yeah.
Well, that's the best way, because if you do that, not let it bother you, you can only go up.
Yeah.
It's when you start letting things bother you is when it starts weighing you down. Then you start questioning yourself. You start
Yeah.
questioning what's bothering you. You start questioning if you're doing the right thing. And all the while, you could have just ignored it, fuck all,
Yeah.
and paid attention to what matters.
Yeah,
That's it.
well, and you have, because you've grown. So you started the product line. The product line has grown. Like
Yeah.
you've thrown, there's a ton of shit in there now. So you have
Yeah.
so many things, the flour, the seasonings. I mean,
So we started
Yeah,
the
I know.
YouTube channel that did well, and then I just from having like the marketing and sales background, I wanted to have a product on the market.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I got this big following.
well, you got to sell them something. Yeah.
Like it's like the analogy, like you can get in the boat and ride past 100,000 fish, but if you don't have a line in the water, it doesn't matter.
True.
It's like I got this big audience. What can I do to, capitalize on that from a business perspective? Products is direct to consumer product sales is
Yeah.
the no-brainer idea there, and I've just kind of expanded on that from seasonings to chef knife, skillet, seasoned flour.
Yeah.
We're in
That's-
36 Kroger locations now with the seasoning, so we're trying to continue.
I saw
to push
that. I saw the end cap, which is pretty
the-
awesome. It's always
push
great
the
when you're in a
envelope
store
there.
and you're like, I know that
Hey,
guy.
yeah,
I know that
exactly.
guy.
Success.
It's
when you
amazing.
see that, don't be too excited because the profit margins suck. But
Well, and that's what people
but
don't
it's
realize.
just cool because you're in there. But it's like
Yeah.
I make so much more money if I ship it from the warehouse.
Direct
but,
Sure.
B2C, but you have, but it gives you street cred. So
Exactly.
it's like, okay, you actually are legitimate because you have something in a store that you
Yeah,
went through
it's a
that
long-term
route.
investment.
Yeah,
a market, a market of that caliber, Kroger.
Well, yeah, any
they're
of the
not-
big
Biggest
chains.
grocer in
They
the
got enough
country.
faith in
Yeah.
you.
If you're going
to
to
be able to do it.
wholesale I mean, at least you've done that part the right way. And then you parlayed that into in person, because that's another arm of your business that you built off of that audience. So
That's back to kind of like my competitive nature, because I feel like I see the comments like, oh, you're an internet chef, you're da da da.
You can't
like,
do this.
It looks good. Does it taste good? Like, so I'm like, okay, well, let's travel around and feed people and let's see. It's tough to do. Like, going into a strange kitchen in a strange city with a strange team and executing a 5-course dinner party for 150 people is not easy to do. So like, I just like the challenge of doing that, and we've done it successfully 3 years now. And
that's the good thing, is you're taking what you do virtual into a live scenario, proving that it's not just a photo.
You're not a
shot.
flash in the pan. It's like, no, you can legitimately cook
and you
your
learn
ass
so
off.
much. Like, in that short period of time, I learned all of the kitchen terminology that everybody's using. I understand prep. I understand how to hold things and, the right temperature. Like, all the stuff that not all the stuff, but some of the stuff you would learn in culinary school. Learning on the job is in most jobs, that's the best way to learn. So that's kind of the approach that I've taken. Yeah,
which the pop-ups are fun. What are you have more of those coming up?
Yeah, we have Dallas on the 21st of September. I'm not sure when this is going to air yet, but I have Dallas, LA, Vegas, and Miami and DC are the last ones.
That's fun, though.
Yeah, we've done a bunch. We did New York, we did Philly, we did DC a couple times. We've done Atlanta, all the major cities for the most part.
That's pretty cool. I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I'm happy for you. I'm proud of you, dude, because not everybody can do what we do. You know what I mean? Not everybody can do it and capture it and keep running with it. So we're gonna have a couple more of these.
Well, I know you have some questions for Tony, so we're gonna have you grilling him in an episode later in the season, because you're gonna be looking at your next venture. Can you talk about that?
Yeah,
let everybody know.
We're in the process of opening my very first restaurant in the Washington, D.C. area. Hopefully sometime before the end of the year. You've been kind enough to be very helpful with that. Let me come and watch you do your thing in the kitchen and just ask
And even
you
with
questions.
doing that, you know how to walk around, you know where to be, you know what to ask, you know what to watch. So anybody who's going to be in that DC area, we'll talk about that later on.
Yeah, we'll
when
put
we
that
get into
out.
that segment. But for now, keep your eye open on it, because that could happen before we even get there, right?
Yeah.
So definitely support the man in that, and if I'm going to,
yeah, please.
So I better be at that soft open.
Oh no,
sure.
we're all coming to DC.
Handwritten invitation.
Right
we're
on.
driving
That's
distance
great.
from Hampton Roads, so we can make it up there for that.
So what I'll do is let's do this.
Let's do what?
Let's move on to that next episode.
Well, we're going to have that episode later in the season. For now, how can everybody find you?
MrMakeItHappen.com is the website. That's where the blog and all the links are for the products. Mr. Make It Happen on YouTube, Mr. Make It Happen on Twitter, Instagram. Basically, you type Mr. Make It Happen online, all of my stuff will pop up. And again, I'm thankful for the opportunity to sit down with you guys and the platform to, just talk about food.
Repping Hampton Roads. We
That's
appreciate
it,
you. All right.
757.
Cheers.
All right, cheers.
Mine's already
Matt,
gone,
you're a
but-
beast, man. Thank you, bro. Have a good night. Good night, good day. Lucky to you.
Whatever
Ciao for
time it
now.
is.
Yeah, whatever the fuck it is. Ciao for now, y'all.
Thank you.
Cheers.
All right.